Dear students, we have discussed the theory of consumer behavior in the previous classes. Now, in this class, we will discuss what is known as the budget constraint. The budget constraint. Remember that the economic problem of the consumer is very simple. Economists assume that consumers will choose the best bundle they can afford. The goal of the consumer is utility maximization. So naturally, the best bundle is one which maximizes the utility of the consumer, given the prices of the commodities and also the income of the consumer. The consumer cannot maximize his utility by selecting any bundle as he wishes. He has to consider the prices of the commodities and also the limited money income available with him, acting as a constraint on the utility maximization. So, in choosing a commodity bundle, the consumer must reconcile its wants with its preference relation and its given budget constraints. That is, he has to reconcile its wants with the preference relation, the utility function, with its budget constraints, also known as affordable bundle. Affordable bundle. Affordable bundle. Now, to explain what is this budget constraint, affordable bundle, we assume that there are two commodities, X and Y. The prices of X and Y are Px and Py, and the resources available with the consumer as I, that is income of the consumer. So, I is the income of the consumer. We consider two commodities X and Y, and the consumer has to allot his income to purchase X and Y given the prices as Px and Py. Now, in this analysis, we assumed that commodities X and Y are traded in a market and are publicly quoted. Prices are traded in a market where prices are publicly quoted. This assumption is known as the assumption of, or the principle of completeness. The principle of completeness, also known as universality of markets. Universality of markets. This assumption is known as the universality of markets. That is the consumers purchase X and Y from a competitive market where prices are given, and this assumption is known as principle of completeness, or what is known as universality of markets. It is also assumed in the analysis that the prices are constant. That means consumers are price takers. That is, Px and Py are fixed in the market. Consumers can purchase X and Y at the prices fixed in the market. Consumers have no control over the prices. Given these assumptions, a consumer is constrained by what is known as a budget set. A budget, consumer is constrained by a budget set, also known as the feasible set. Also known as the feasible set, budget set, feasible set, or a opportunity set. Opportunity set. Budget set, feasible set, or opportunity set, which is given as Px into X plus Py into Y less than or equal to I, where Px is price of X, quantity of X, price of I, quantity of I less than or equal to I, income. Now, this budget set can be represented graphically on a two-dimensional plane like this, X, Y. Then this is I by Py, this is I by Px, and you consider the shaded area. This shaded area represents the budget set. That is the graphic representation of the budget set. And this line is denoted as Px into X plus Py into Y is equal to I. This is the budget line. And on the budget line, this inequality is replaced by the equality. Px into X plus Py into Y is equal to Y. So the budget set is the shaded area, and it contains all the consumption bundles that a consumer can afford, and the boundary of the shaded area is known as the budget line or the budget constraint, which is given by the equation Px into X plus Py into I, Y is equal to I. Budget line represents all the consumption bundles where the cost is equal to I, exactly equal to I. It represents all the possible combinations of X and Y that the consumer can purchase given the market prices and also the income of the consumer. So all the points lying on the budget line shows all the combinations of X and Y that the consumer can purchase given the market prices and the money income of the consumer. Now we rearrange this equality. Px into X plus Py into Y is equal to I can be written as Py into Y is equal to I minus Px into X, so that Y is equal to I by Py minus Px by Py into X into X. And you know that this is the equation of a straight line with the y-intercept I by Py. I by Py, and slope is given, and this is the vertical intercept I by Py. This is the horizontal intercept I by Px. Now the slope is given by dy by dx is equal to minus px by py. Dy by dx or delta y by delta x is minus px by py. And the slope of the budget line is given as the negative of the price ratio. The negative of the price ratio. The slope is negative of the price ratio, given specifically as dy by dx di is equal to 0, is equal to minus px by py. Dy by dx, change in I equal to 0 is equal to minus px by py. Now, this equation represents the budget line with the y-intercept I by py, x-intercept I by px, and the slope negative of the price ratio. And the slope of the budget line has a very nice economic interpretation. The economic interpretation is slope of the budget line measures the rate at which market is willing to substitute x for y. That is, the slope is defined as the rate at which market is willing to substitute x for y. For example, suppose that this px by py is equal to 2. It means that you have to substitute 2 units of y for getting 1 more unit of x. 2 units of y to get 1 more unit of x. So, if the consumer wants to consume more x, it has to sacrifice y. If px by py is 2, the consumer has to sacrifice 2 units of y for each additional unit of x. And economists sometimes say that the slope of the budget line is the opportunity cost of consuming x. Opportunity cost of consuming x. If it is 2, opportunity cost of consuming 1 more unit of x is 2 units of y. 2 units of y. Now, having defined the budget line, the budget set, the budget constraints, now we have to see how this budget line changes. A budget line is drawn for a particular level of income and also for specific levels of prices. So naturally, the budget line will shift if px changes, py changes, income changes. So that means if there is a change in the prices of the commodities, or if there is a change in the income of the consumer, what happens? The budget set, the budget line, the budget constraint also shifts. Let us first consider what happens if there is a change in income only. If there is a change in income only. Now, we know that y is equal to I by py minus px by py into x into x. Now, let us see what happens if income increases. If our income increases, as you can say, the y-intercept shifts upwards. This is I by py, this is I by px. If income changes, then it follows that you have a parallel shift in the budget line like this. Say I dash by Py, I dash by Px, a parallel shift, and the opportunity set, the budget constraint shift upwards parallelly, vertical shift. The reason is that the slope of the budget line is Px by Py. If income changes, slope is not affected. So the shift of the budget line outward is a parallel shift. If there is a reduction in the income, then what happens is the budget line shift towards the origin, that is shift inward. So change in income is shown as outward or inward shift of the budget line. Over time, income of the consumer will increase. It causes outward or inward shift in the budget line. Now, what about change in prices? What about change in prices? We know that this is the original budget line. Suppose that Px alone decreases, income constant, Py is also constant. Now, if there is a reduction in the price of X, the budget line, the y-intercept will remain the same. The budget line tilt along the x-axis like this. This is I by Px, this is I by say P dash x. When the price of x decreases from Px to P dash x, what happens is the budget line tilt along the y-axis and the budget set expands along the x-axis like this. That is, the vertical intercept is not affected because the price of y is remaining constant. Only the horizontal intercept is affected. The opposite will happen if there is an increase in the price of x. Then the budget line tilt along the x-axis towards the left. Similarly, if there is a decrease in the price of y, a movement along the y-axis towards the right, towards the left, etc. And when there is a change in the price of x or a price of y, as you can see, the slope of the budget line changes. The slope of the budget line changes. That will happen. So, depending on the nature of the change, budget line shift along the x-axis or shift along the y-axis. Now, let us see what happens to the budget line when both Px and Py change at the same time. Suppose that both the prices doubles. If both the prices double, then both the vertical and horizontal intercepts shift inwards by a factor of 1/2. Factor of 1/2. So, the budget line shift inwards by what is known as 1/2 of the original budget line. And also, suppose that both the prices doubles. The budget line shift inwards by 1/2. Suppose that we multiply both Px and by Py by 2. This is equal to dividing income by 2. And as you can see, suppose that our original budget line is Px into x plus Py into y is equal to I. Suppose also that you multiply both the prices with t. T into Px into x plus t into Py into y is equal to ti, and this equation is same as px into x plus py into y is equal to I by t. So multiplying both the prices by t is same as dividing I with t. That is, multiplying both the prices with a constant t, any number, is equivalent to dividing the income with the same constant 2. So if we multiply both the prices with t and multiply income also with t, budget line will not shift. Prices will be doubled, income is also doubled, so that budget line will remain the same. Budget line will remain the same. For example, I from say 100 by 10 becomes 200 by 20. The vertical intercept is same. The same is true for horizontal intercept. So we have the budget constraint. What happens to the budget constraint when income changes? Prices change. Both the prices and income change. But remember this, if both the prices and income change with the different amounts, then we have to consider each case separately. Each case separately.